SmackDown. Review-A-SmackDown. SmackDown. Review-A-SmackDown. SmackDown. Review-A-SmackDown. SmackDown. Review-A-SmackDown.
It's John Pollock and Wai Ting.
Yeah.
And welcome to Review-A-SmackDown Live.
Live. We are back
Yes.
for this YouTube experiment.
Emphasis on the D of SmackDown.
Yes, please, capital D.
Capital D?
I need to hear it emphasized. Smack
Down. Maybe there should be a hyphen in there.
Smack dash down? That's not as...
Then it shouldn't be a capital letter, should it?
Well, this is a debate for another time,
Okay.
I would say.
We're not going to stylize too much. Well, we have lots to discuss. First of all, forgot to mention this earlier, but we're having an impromptu contest way.
What?
Yes.
We are?
Yes, we are. We have copies of WrestleMania 33 on DVD that we're going to be giving away on Review-A-SmackDown Live over the next couple of weeks, starting with this show.
Is that right?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. They are en route, or else I would have had them on display here. But this is the contest for this week, and you've got to be a Law Message Board member to participate.
Wow.
In this thread, what I want from people are predictions for this weekend, for not just Backlash, but also for NXT TakeOver. Post your predictions for both cards by Saturday, and the entrant with the most correct percentage of predictions will win a copy.
I love that.
And if there's a tie, then we'll have to do a draw amongst the finalists. But make your predictions for all the matches for TakeOver, all for Backlash, including the kickoff show. Post them in the thread for Review-A-SmackDown, and we will announce the winner next week.
When do we need all this by?
By Saturday, before the start of NXT.
All right, so make an account at lawradio.proboards.com.
In this Review-A-SmackDown thread, post your predictions.
In the Review-A-SmackDown thread, let us know. Not
Yes.
the feedback thread, but the actual podcast.
The actual podcast thread.
Great.
That doesn't sound too complex.
I hope not. I hope in the future we can make these really easy. But
I like a little difficulty where people have to be a little confused.
Yeah,
You're fighting for a prize.
I agree. I'm with you.
All right. Time to get into SmackDown.
Let's do it.
The go-home show from Manchester, New Hampshire.
So they were in England last week, but yet Manchester this week.
Yeah, they were, and we even got a Manchester by the Sea reference by Corey Graves.
Oh, that's that Manchester. Is it the same Manchester?
Oh, I don't know. I never saw the movie,
Oh, okay.
but I hear it was good.
No. Best actor.
Yes.
Casey Affleck.
Kevin Owens is in the ring for the start of his own highlight reel segment, calling it the new and improved version, and that the original host will never, ever be seen again unless you're going across the country to any of his shows at the moment through the end of the month. But they replayed the injury angle from 2 weeks ago, and that the only list that Chris Jericho is on is the injured list. And only a sneak preview of what is to happen to AJ Styles at Backlash as they replayed this. So definitely keeping in the back of your mind Chris Jericho, who this Fozzy tour is not the longest tour in the world. This thing ends in a month. So, and he, I believe, is advertised for the cards that are in Japan in July. So this hiatus could be a very brief one, unless Chris has other plans and wrestling is not immediate for him to be coming back. But, I mean, they're going forward with this angle as though he'll be back.
The fact that they're doing this, having Kevin Owens do the highlight reel, which I love, suggests that they really want to keep this feud in everybody's minds, and I would anticipate an early return.
So he goes to introduce his guest in French, but is interrupted by AJ Styles. And Styles comes out. He says he did terribly in high school French, unlike me.
You did well?
Dude, I got an A
Oh, wow.
in grade 9.
So hit us.
So I continued in grade 10. Listen, the way that was a long time ago.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien.
Oh, pourquoi?
Bonjour. I know you asked me why.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Où est la bibliothèque?
The library is...
No, all right. We'll do the next show all in French. We'll get ready for it.
Yeah, we've got to build this up. Clearly,
Yeah.
they're building to a WrestleMania highlight reel involving Kevin Owens and Maurice, cross brands.
Do you think that it'll all be in French? Maybe?
I would argue that over the past month, they've done a more effective job of transferring their product to a French-speaking audience than they have in cultivating a star for India.
But they're all heels. So what do you mean?
I find that they have done a better job, though, of. I think Kevin Owens is a much more. Let's put it this way: Kevin Owens going to Montreal as a superstar. Mm-hmm. I could see him much more as a nationalistic hero than Jinder Mahal going to India, and
he's a better performer, certainly.
I think he's also just, even if you're not a wrestling fan, I think that he would transfer over easier to a non-wrestling audience even. So anyway, AJ comes out. He's going to beat Owens for the title, blah, blah, blah. We got a chant of USA. And Styles says, hey, we can go at it right now. So out comes Jinder to hinder the segment with the Singh brothers. And Mahal was supposed to be the guest on the highlight reel. And they replayed Mahal pinning Orton on SmackDown last week. Then he goes to quote Gandhi in Punjabi and says that in order to find yourself, you must lose yourself, just as Eminem did.
Oh, you think he was quoting Gandhi, Eminem?
He had to have been.
Yeah.
Really... Gandhi's palms were sweaty. Mm-hmm. His knees were weak.
Spaghetti.
Arms were heavy.
Yeah.
And it leads to a match after the break between AJ and Jinder.
Pretty standard, fine opening segment.
It was fine, yes. Yeah. So Kevin Owens is on commentary. Mahal thrust AJ in the throat, sent him into the turnbuckle, and it was a lot of AJ selling. Styles landed some strikes. He caught the Singhs as they were about to trip him from the floor, but then Mahal drops him on the top rope, really working that throat over. Then there was a reverse chinlock, which put me to sleep. Styles then avoided a superplex, pulling out Mahal's legs, caught Mahal with a drop kick. Mahal came off of his shoulders, landed a boot for a 2 count, Pele kick, then an Ushigoroshi for 2, big baseball slide drop kick that just murdered Jinder on the floor. Styles sets up for the phenomenal forearm when Kevin Owens gets up from the announcer's desk, hits AJ in the knee with the title belt to screw up the finish, and then Mahal hits the Cobra Clutch Slam, which is now called the Koloss.
Koulos. Is it Koulos or Koulos?
The Koloss, which is Arabic for finished.
Oh, okay.
Did some research here. Jinder won. AJ, as hard as he tried, I don't think pulled off the miracle here. I thought this really dragged. Oh. And even my computer has disconnected because of this match. I am not high on this match on Sunday, Way.
Yeah, I mean, the match was mainly Jinder on the offensive, and as a result,
it was not pretty.
It was quite boring. Just a lot of stomping, a lot of kicking, some chin locks, and with what's been recently going on Twitter with Randy Orton, you can maybe expect to see a lot of chin locks in this match on Sunday.
And Randy has a history. He will work to those above him and rise. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to guys like pulling them up to his level, like Randy is not that guy.
No. He can be carried, but not necessarily the guy to carry.
This is not, stylistically, this is not a match that on paper goes into with any promise. Maybe they will surprise me, but I feel this Chicago crowd, if there's a match they turn on vociferously, this is the match. And that's a smart crowd that Randy is kind of in. He has put himself in a corner here. This is not just your typical crowd. This is Chicago.
That is true.
Where there will be more people familiar with, like the Randy Orton thing is not just nothing. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are aware of this.
No, they're playing it up. He did a great, he took a great photo with Drew Gulak.
Yes.
The no-fly zone sign on Twitter this week. But I personally don't have high hopes with for the match on Sunday. That said, I don't think it'll be a disaster. I feel like the character itself is over enough to a level that I think he is at least interesting. You know, it's not a Roman Reigns reaction where a guy's getting pushed that people don't necessarily feel like deserve it. I feel like most audiences, including the ones on the hardcore fans, are giving this guy a chance. So we'll see.
Lana promo aired again, and then a new Fashion Files, Fashionable Intent, where this was at the Manchester Fashion Department. Breeze came in dressed as a janitor. They went through the different atrocities on the roster, such as Baron Corbin having 3 shirts, all with wolves, Sami Zayn's flannel, or plaid, and then they pulled out an Usos Day One-ish shirt.
There were a lot of little Easter eggs on the wall, too.
Yeah, we had Nakamura on the wall. We had the Usos. What else was there?
But even like the little scribbles they would write on the thing, so a lot of time put into that.
It ended with the 2 going for a high five and froze.
And then they said, when we win the titles on Sunday, I'm paraphrasing, our day ones will be H.
Okay.
Yeah. I think TV time is great for these guys, and I think to a large portion of the audience, they're a lot more over now than they were before. Personally, I don't necessarily feel like this type of humor is necessarily for me. I think I've hit my own personal limit with these guys at about maybe 1 month's build. I feel the novelty in these skits will kind of start to wear off, but I realize they do have a big audience.
I see potential in these 2. I don't like the idea like with Jinder Mahal, this is the biggest push of his life, and it doesn't feel like that with what I'm watching from him. I mean, that first week, I thought he had a good promo, and since then, I mean, I don't feel it. These 2 are as well getting emphasis that they have not had, especially, well, Fandango since he first came up to the roster. I see bits of potential here with these 2. I think they are creative, but I watch these segments and they feel like open mic night where it's a comedian going up there where in their head they think this material is really going to work and it's not. But I don't want to completely just discourage them from trying with this time.
Yeah, and again, like let's be mindful of the fact that maybe this is not our type of humor, but it might be for some other people. And I've seen reaction online that from people that seem to really like these 2. So we'll see how.
I think people are naturally. They want to see these 2 succeed.
Yeah.
I think they see that, which is what we're in agreement with.
Opposite to the Jinder Mahal feud, where I actually have to disagree with you. I think Jinder is coming across like this is the biggest match of his life, and certainly on the Talking Smack appearance he had last night, we can talk about a little later. He really came across like that. But opposite to that, I actually look forward to the Usos Breezango match a lot more than the build that they've done.
I do too. Renee interviewed Randy Orton and brings up Jinder's accusations that the crowd doesn't like him because of how he looks or what he sounds like, but says, au contraire. Mm-hmm. People don't like Jinder because he's an ass. And he left. Orton looked a mess as well.
Did he?
He's coming off this tour where he hasn't had a haircut during this time. It was noticeable. As someone that gets their haircut once a week, I can sense these things. It was probably bothering him. It can affect your mood as well. Also had some white in the beard. Like he looked more like a Wyatt than ever on this show.
Okay.
I just think he looked disheveled.
Interesting.
Anyway.
There could be something to that.
More with Randy to come. He's having quite the week. Tyler Breeze and Fandango took on the Colognes. Primo hit the chocolate slide. This is a move that it's happening in more and more regularity. It needs a name, a proper name.
Chocolate slide's not proper?
It was an ode to Mark Henry.
Names like that have stuck.
Well, it's never called the chocolate slide, though. I feel there's a whole generation of listeners that I hear me call it this, and I have no idea why I'm calling it that.
Is the Shining Wizard at any more of a technical name for a move?
It's not ethnically specific or race specific.
All right. Yeah. So let's throw it out there. What would you call it?
Hey, maybe that could be the bonus question for those. If we have a tie for the predictions contest, rename the chocolate slide. Okay, they got the advantage. Tyler landed an enziguri on Primo out of the corner, tagged in Fandango. He hit Epico with a Falcon Arrow for the win in 3:20.
Falcon Arrow, there's another one. The Falcon Arrow.
You said that so fast, it did not sound like Falcon.
Oh, what did I say?
That'd be a better name for it.
The fucking Arrow?
Yeah.
That would be a great name. All right. So The match was really just kind of just a match, but I was really more excited about the Usos coming out.
They were great. They came out, they played off one another, said this time it was more so Jimmy setting up Jay as opposed to the last week where it was the opposite. And they turn it into a promo about reading the Fashion Police their rights, welcoming them to the Usos penitentiary, taking them to trial. We have a right to remain vicious. Anything you say can and will put you in stitches, and continued to just run this off. I mean, this to me is a promo that it feels natural between these two. You would have a real hard time sitting down and writing this out. These two feel very organic and continue to be right at the high point of what I'm enjoying on SmackDown. I think the Usos have been fantastic.
Yeah, especially in this feud. I would say, like, prior to the last draft, they really haven't gotten the attention that they deserved for, like, a good several months since the brand split. But ever since then, I've been really impressed with them. And in this case, especially Jay, who I think for a long time has kind of taken a step back to his brother in terms of Total Divas appearances, in terms of just kind of an overall personality. But here, he really seemed like the standout. He's got like a Ghostface Killer type of delivery, where he sounds like he's about to cry whenever he's about to like cut a promo, but like in a great kind of like emotional way that makes you kind of pay attention. I felt the crowd reaction wasn't all that big here, and I largely attribute that to people still trying to figure out what these guys are and not necessarily knowing how to react. It's not like they're saying jokes like that are like laugh out loud funny or anything, but I think it's unique and I quite like it.
It's a different style that, I've liked. Shane comes out to put over SmackDown in the women's division and plugs the 6-woman tag this Sunday, which is getting its own contract signing. The 6-woman tag. The welcoming committee was welcomed, followed by Charlotte, Becky, and Naomi. Natalya says that they are pretending to be BFFs and calls them pathetic. Becky made the mistake of not joining the welcoming committee. All three take turns signing their contracts. And then Becky cuts a promo. She's going to slap the face off of them before she signs. Naomi is going to snatch them all bald and refers to the team as Royal Fire and Glow.
Royal Fire Glow.
Yeah, it feels like a record Dan Lavransky would have tucked away somewhere from 1982. Yeah. With some dust on it.
Maybe Naomi this entire time has just been really excited about that Netflix series.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Feel the glow.
Yeah. Charlotte calls the group the Babysitters Club. So
I think that's a way better name than the Welcoming Committee.
The Babysitters Club?
I love that.
Sure. They're going to beat them, and she says the queen will then go for her crown as she points to Naomi's title, with the implication that ultimately Charlotte just wants to get to the title. Then James Ellsworth took the microphone, telling Shane that the kid can take care of himself, and calls Shane dog. Imagine calling a grown man dog. And he goes one by one, cutting promos on all the women, tells Becky she's got no chance in hell with him. I was waiting for Luke Sanders to just run in and attack him. That would have been great. He says that Charlotte sees himself as a probable king, but he's the Prince of Staten Island, and then tells Naomi that Carmella will stop her flow, take her title, and steal her glow. And this leads to Shane making a match between Naomi and Carmella.
I thought Ellsworth was just awesome. I think he's so great in this role, and I think comedically, he nails it every time. I was a big fan of him. I thought all the baby faces had it really good here. In terms of like who seems the most engaging and comfortable, I would rank them. I like to know yours, but I'd rank them amongst the baby faces. I think Charlotte is top. I would also say that I think Naomi is better than Becky at this point in terms of how engaged the crowd seems to be to what the words are coming out of her mouth.
Yeah, I feel Becky often she's almost searching for a punchline in her promos, and that kind of overrides everything. She's very hurried in her delivery as well. So I'd agree with that order. So after we get, they went through a break, and then Naomi took on Carmella, non-title. Carmella got sent to the floor, and it led to Ellsworth being ejected when he pulled Carmella to the floor, avoiding the rear view. Then they did their leg kick exchange, which I guess is now part of their repertoire that these two engage in. Naomi made a comeback, did her rapid-fire kicks, hit a head kick from the apron, and then as she was climbing to the top, Tamina climbed up to the apron to get involved, but then the referee ejected Tamina and Natalya. They go to leave, but they return brawling with Charlotte and Becky, and then Naomi knocks Tamina down from the ring, and this allows Carmella to roll up Naomi and pin her once again.
Yeah, so that's twice Carmella has pinned Naomi in a tag team setting, and I don't understand why the announcers didn't point that out, because clearly the booking is designed for it to be a significant part.
And
of
Naomi pushed it on Talking Smack.
Yeah, the announcers here gave no focus to the fact that Carmella has pinned the champion twice, and Carmella looks to be the focus of this build, but you wouldn't necessarily have gathered that if you didn't watch 2 weeks ago and if you just saw this.
Another New Day promo, and then Dolph Ziggler was in the locker room. He's never understood the hype around Shinsuke Nakamura. He's done his homework and his research, and he has a video on Nakamura to show of his WWE accomplishments. And it goes to start, and then the graphic comes up, footage not found, and hence he's done nothing in the WWE. So Dolph throws to a package of himself going through his entire history, winning the IC and US titles multiple times, the Money in the Bank win, cashing in on Alberto Del Rio, and says nothing will bring him more joy than to spit in the face of all the hypocrites that turn their back on him when he stops Nakamura before he even begins.
I thought it was the footage not found thing was a little lame.
What a lot of work to go into that.
Oh, to like find like a color bar thing and to type footage not found?
Yeah.
Sure. I actually thought that this would have been a perfect time to actually show a Nakamura highlight video. You know, I mean, for all the hype surrounding him with all the promotion, there are still a lot of people who have never seen this guy in NXT. And I think the go-home show prior to this pay-per-view was a perfect time to show something.
Profile piece about
this guy. Introduce me to who he is, why he's such a big deal. And, you know, they did a tease for it, but I actually feel like they should have done it.
Yeah, I've got to say it was a real letdown of a final setup for what I could argue is the most anticipated match on this card on Sunday. I mean, there was no Nakamura presence, and it was, this to me felt very lackluster. Got a TJP 205 Live promo. Good things come to those that wait. That's a tired cliche, and it's wrong. And tonight he is done with Austin Aries. This guy can cut the greatest promos ever. I'll never not be amused by TJP.
I'm really glad they've dropped the corny scripting of him.
I'm not. I kind of like that.
They've stopped with the video game puns. Au contraire, mon frere, I think was a major low light that they seem to have distanced TJP from. In recent weeks, he's been speaking a lot more naturally. So I'll say overall, he seems to be improving, and the writing for him is improving. So I'd like to see where he's at in a year. I think you skipped the Sami Zayn interview.
Probably. Dasha was with Sami Zayn. He's been granted a match with Baron Corbin at Backlash, and he thinks that Corbin is threatened by Zayn because he knows he can't keep Sami down. He's a threat to his ego, and just like that, Corbin jumps him from behind, nails him, drops him to the floor, and says he will put Zayn down permanently on Sunday at the pay-per-view.
It's a feud that has received very little attention, and it's a late edition, so it really just seems like it's there to fill out the show.
I was hoping Kurt would call him to warn him. Finally call him back from Monday.
Yeah.
Randy Orton, Baron Corbin was our main event. Headlock takeover, headlock takeover, headlock takeover. Randy shove, Baron shove. Orton avoided an RKO. Corbin with the advantage. More advantage. Stomp, stomp, boot. Crowd rallies behind Orton. He broke away from a backbreaker attempt, and then Corbin ran shoulder first into the post. Needs to watch his Roman Reigns tapes. Orton hit a power slam, did his whole comeback. To Orton's credit, this guy is really good at building his whole comeback and getting the audience behind him, which he did here. RKO got blocked, and then Corbin hit a deep 6 for a 2 count. Corbin did his usual deal, sliding under the turnbuckle, running around. He did it twice in this match, but the final time runs into an RKO, and Randy got the win. I thought this was another match that dragged on this show.
Good crowd reactions, but I found a very average match. Perhaps this week, deliberately so. You know, it almost you could interpret this perhaps, and this is just my theoretical thinking. Maybe Orton just went out there and decided, hey, I'm gonna prove a point and have the most Randy Orton basic match I can to maximize.
Is that conducive to the character he's playing?
He always wrestles like this, though. It has nothing to do with his character. The character is a guy who's slow and plotting and takes a lot of time to think. And, you know, you do have to credit him. He is a guy who is great at everything but the, you know, high-flying whatever. He's great at milking the crowd for the reaction.
Oh, he's a solid performer.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get an argument out of me about that.
But, like, will he ever steal a show, you know, the way an AJ Styles might? It's rare. It's a rare occasion. And I felt like this week was maybe almost a deliberate point for him to say, hey, I can do all this and I can make this crowd go wild without doing all that crazy stuff.
Well, he will either be crucified or he will be applauded by everyone for what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't anticipate boos. I really don't think the story is that big. You know,
I think if we're 10 minutes in and it's reflective of this match or the match Mahal had with AJ,
it could bomb. Yeah,
I think people are just going to tire of it and they will just be totally checked out of this match. I have a really hard time imagining this goes on last on Sunday.
It's tough for me to wonder as well, but I can definitely see Nakamura going on last. I can. But
I think it's the obvious choice.
The thing is, though, that the finish to Nakamura Ziggler is so obvious, though. This one is the more intriguing outcome that we don't know.
Yeah, but to me, that the mystery of the outcome doesn't even bother me. I think it's going to be the hottest reaction, and I think Dolph's going to have a great match with him.
Or can you put AJ and Owens last?
You have all those options that you could do. I just don't feel Owens and AJ just doesn't feel like a major match on Sunday. It definitely feels number 3.
But in terms of work rate, in terms of, you know, a combination of work rate and star power, that's certainly the highest.
You could. Mahal came out at the end and told Orton to savor his victory, relish his time with the title. He was basically doing John Jones' promo on Daniel Cormier last week of get those Christmas cards ready because you have 11 weeks left with the title. Jinder did not brag about doing cocaine all weekend and now going to beat Randy Orton. He said he's going to destroy Randy's pride, body, and future at Backlash. The Singh brothers then run in from behind, but Orton catches them, fights them off, and he was going for the double draping DDT spot, which brought back memories of Cody and Ted DiBiase, which he did that on.
Yes.
But Orton was not able to hit it because Jinder ran in, they attacked him 3-on-1, and Mahal hit the Colossus and posed with the title to end the show.
Yeah, the big tease here seems to be Randy finally getting to attack the Singh brothers. They've been quite protective of these Singh brothers who really have not had much of a come up.
I think they need to be utilized in that match Sunday to take some crazy spot from Randy and just bump for him.
I imagine we'll get this DDT spot on Sunday.
And you may not be aware of this way. There was an Easter egg on Tuesday because
spoilers.
Yeah, if you were able to get into the world that was SmackDown Live on Tuesday night after the show, Rusev furiously ran to the building and he forgot what time the show started to confront Shane McMahon, and he totally missed the show. His whole holding up Shane for a title shot, it never happened on Tuesday.
Wow. I mean, this guy, they made him look like such a fool, being cut at the last minute with no mention.
They aired that video multiple times. Yeah. He's coming to SmackDown.
So he ended up tweeting that he was at a Predators game and therefore didn't have time to visit Shane McMahon this week.
How lazy.
Yeah, I mean, really unfortunate that things like that get cut last minute, when you've been building them up. I can understand why they did it. This was a go-home show without any room for Jinder on Backlash, I would assume. But do you see...
It was also known it was the go-home show last week when they promoted that. Like, why not wait till after the show? And to be honest, like, I guess they wanted Shane as part of just the contract signing. That was his presence on the show. But... I mean, you could have done something with Rusev to at least, like, this was not a packed show.
Yeah.
There was a lot that dragged on this particular episode.
Do you think he gets involved in a main event on Sunday? He is eyeing that world title, and he is kind of...
Yeah, if you don't want to beat either guy, he's your out to get involved and attack Randy. You could do that, which... Again, if they don't have a spectacular match and that's your finish, I mean, even more so, people will kind of be turned off of the match.
Overall, I would say this edition of SmackDown for a go-home show felt pretty kind of by the numbers.
Raw was certainly the superior show this week.
I agree. I mean, all the booking was logical. Nothing was outrageous, which I can't really say the same for Raw. But I feel like they've done an okay job overall building to Backlash. It's been a relatively simple built around... I mean, Nakamura really is your guy, and that feud's been completely built by Dolph Ziggler. And you have this Jinder Mahal Randy Orton feud, which is a really interesting experiment for a B show, and I'm really interested to see the crowd reactions for that match in particular. Not much on this show for AJ and Owens, or any of the other matches. Harper and Rowan, I guess that was made.
That was to come.
That is to come. But yeah, Raw was better this week, I'll say.
Talking Smack had Renee and Shane hosting the show. They congratulated Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. And Renee calls Sunday a stacked card. And Jinder Mahal was the first guest with the Singh brothers standing behind him. He doesn't believe it was a shock he became the number one contender, as Renee and Shane had gone over the footage of him becoming the number one contender. He thinks that Orton has lost his edge, his guard's down, he's not hungry or the man that he used to be. Shane then asks if Jinder is borrowing from the likes of Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather to get into the head of Randy Orton after absconding the title. The greatest statement that just, it hit me and I needed like water to recover from. It was just too much at once.
So how would you like to unpack this? I mean, I think the fact that he brought up...
what a comparison.
Conor and Mayweather was really like...
If this guy was cutting... Jesus Christ, like a percentage of the effective promos of either man, I'd be over the moon for Jinder Mahal. This guy to me has, I'm sorry. I guess you took more out of this segment, but he feels like he's just doing the pro wrestling promo. And it's not resonating with me.
I'll tell you why I liked it, and it's because I think I'm really surprised that this guy Jinder Mahal, who for his entire career was a jobber to mid-card level guy, he showed a real great self-determination in the segments like this that I really believe in. His character seems really unshakable, and as a result, his confidence coupled with his new body, I think gives him a real main eventer's presence. And I'm sure this went into the idea that Vince saw this guy and saw his promo on a show like this and thought, hey, maybe we can run with him. And I think that he does have a chance. So the match may not be great, but I think it'll be good enough. And I think on Sunday, I'm sure Vince is still debating right now whether or not to make that switch. But I think Vince will. I think Jinder Mahal will win the belt on Sunday.
I just feel like they just haven't put enough heat on this guy, in my opinion. Like, I know...
Stealing the belt was much, yeah.
Yeah, and God, look at the lengths they went with
JBL?
With JBL, who was, again, a cold character that they flipped, and they gave him everything in the world. And granted, I don't see them doing a heart attack angle to build this guy up, but there's also... To me, it's like you're starting this guy at zero. He needs all the help in the world, and it's been a very safe build... where I feel he's viewed as Jinder Mahal, and now it's time for the match, which you could argue is the weakest portion for Jinder.
The alternative, though, I mean, I can imagine that they've built something up here with Jinder that they don't want to just squander by having him lose clean to Randy on Sunday.
I'm glad you used squander.
Instead of, yes. So I could see them prolonging the feud with some type of screwy finish, but I just don't see them wanting to completely throw out what they built so far with Jinder in one match.
Yeah, I could see this feud continuing after if we get a second absconding on Sunday. I don't see how Rusev fits into this.
I don't think he does.
I almost feel like he would be better. Again, even the U.S. title, I wouldn't want to take that off Owens either.
I think you can get at least 2 months out of this Jinder thing, if not even longer, if it's hot enough, unless the match is terrible. But then you can move on to Rusev.
There's the easy out that it's just, well, Rusev, you will have an opportunity in the Money in the Bank. That's what you get.
Sure.
And he seems like just a curveball for this main event program, unless they're just going to blow this off with Jinder on Sunday.
We'll see. But I really like Jinder on Talking Smack here. And I actually thought Shane was quite good, too. I like that Shane seems to be able to speak between the lines, much like a Daniel Bryan in his line of questioning to the talent. Like, he's asking questions like, wow, you seem to have really, like, increased your confidence lately. And these are questions that, like, are obviously in character, but they also work in a realistic, shoot setting.
I'll go so far as to say I think this was the best Shane has been on this show. So anyway, afterwards, Shane was very impressed with the mind games of Jinder Mahal. And they were also asked, what is your relationship with the Singh brothers? And Mahal said, now is not the time to discuss that.
So they're not able to speak yet?
No. Shane says he's very impressed with Jinder, and Renee adds, how can you not be? Then Erick Rowan wandered onto the set with a burlap sack. He has a sheep's mask underneath. In the sack that he pulls out because this makes him laugh.
It's a sheep's mask with kind of clown face paint printed on it.
Yeah.
This is important because they're all different masks.
Yeah, he had all these different masks with different colors, and then he hands a balloon to Renee and pops the balloon. He brings out all these different masks and then is asked about Luke Harper leaving the family, and he starts to yell. He's very troubled by this. Rowan has been left a lot in his life. So Harper leaving upsets him. Lucas needs a harsher punishment, and he wants a match at Backlash, so Shane makes it. It's very awkward. Renee has moved over as Erick Rowan is in her seat, and then he puts the mask on, the one with the tubes, and I don't know why I found this so hilarious, but Shane just says, I'm glad this is the calming mask. And he said it just so dry. I thought it was the best line Shane's had in a long time. And that was our bizarre Erick Rowan segment.
I enjoyed it for what it was, okay? Like, first, I have to say this type of character is really tough to pull off unless you have a lot of time at it, unless you're a Bray Wyatt. I think it's one thing to play Jinder Mahal, where you really just kind of come across as an extension of who he actually is. It's another thing to play this type of psychotic character. It requires a lot more acting. And so I thought Rowan did a commendable job. He came out here to reintroduce people to Erick Rowan. And I thought he added a new layer to his gimmick. He always wears the mask. He's the guy who wears the mask in the Wyatt family. Well, why does he wear a mask? So what I gathered from this segment was that he uses the mask as extensions of his various emotions. He puts on a clown mask when he wants to feel like he's a funny, happy-go-lucky guy. Maybe puts on like a sad mask, puts on the ventilation mask in order to de-stress.
He's a mood ring.
He's a mood ring, or you could call him the man of a million masks. Literally, he is the new Mil Mascaras.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. So all the while, he was told out here to also give an explanation for why he's about to have this match with Luke Harper. And I thought he did with Lucas. And I thought he did a good job. Harper left the family. Harper left him. Brought up all these emotions of him feeling abandoned as a child. He broke up the family. So, done. That's all you need. You gave me a reason to care about the match. And it's unfortunate that they didn't give these two that much time, really any time in this month at all, to build to this match, because I think there's a lot more story to be told.
Shane then said he enjoyed Dolph's video on Nakamura, and Renee called bullshit. Said, what about everything at NXT? It was a stupid video. And Shane was like, I'm not saying I agree with it. And then Charlotte, Naomi, and Becky came on. Naomi brought up the fact it was the second time she was pinned by Carmella. I didn't take anything from this at the end. It was kind of just...
Not really.
I mean, you had this awkward send-off with Rowan and then had to continue the show. I almost feel they could have ended the show with Rowan for more emphasis.
Maybe.
I mean, it was an actual storyline they were executing on the show, and the women here said nothing.
It's to me, these are just interesting to see the performers improvise. And Charlotte here was definitely cracking a lot more smiles than usual. Like, so it just felt like she was having a good time being here instead of being worried about keeping character and not smiling. I thought Naomi sounded good.
And finally, we got 205 Live with a recap at the beginning of Neville and Aries, and then Dasha starts the show interviewing Aries backstage. He calls TJP Neville's lapdog. Neville's a liar. And TJP, he says he's never getting a title match, despite what Neville says, because Neville is Dana White. And TJP, who would he be? Yoel Romero? Damian Maya?
Yeah. All those guys.
Yes, we watch MMA. And says that TJP will never be at his level, regardless of the health of his knee. Noam Dar versus the man of mystery, Grand Metalik.
Yeah, he's been touring, and now he actually returned to 205 Live.
Yes, this is his once every 4-month appearance. Dar knocked him to the floor, and Alicia was checking on him. Dar hides behind her as Metalik comes to the floor, and then Metalik went for this tilt-a-whirl head scissors, and it just missed the head of Noam Dar, who just rolled through anyway. And then did an arm drag from the top, sending Dar to the floor, and followed with a top rope Asai moonsault. Fox then distracted by yelling at Metalik, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" And it allowed Dar to drop kick him off the apron. Metalik hit his back elbow, diving backward off the middle rope, then a spinning facebuster. Dar kicks out the leg, snaps his right arm. Metalik hit an enziguri from the apron, hit his elbow off the top for a 2 count, and Dar kicks his legs out as he does the spinning rope walk, and then his running kick for the win in 9 minutes as Noam Dar pins Grand Metalik. Clean.
So, I mean, this entire hiatus from Grand Metalik after his debut, I assume that they were keeping him off in order to build something for the guy, in order to, I don't know, get a character storyline ready for him.
No.
This was it. He was treated just like another jobber here. Could he be on his way out?
If I was this guy, I would definitely be eyeing he just doesn't feel like a fit.
No, I don't think so.
This guy is one of the most spectacular performers that we have seen him. He's gotten over in CMLL, in New Japan, he wasn't a featured guy, but nonetheless, his style was much different than what you're seeing on 205 Live. He was one of the high points of the Cruiserweight Classic, but in this environment, it's just not clicked.
No,
and
I can't even see a title program with him, even on the Cruiserweight show. So the booking here seems to suggest to me that they don't have any further plans for Grand Metalik, and I would be curious to know if he would be sticking around. It brings the question: would a guy like him have been better served to debut in NXT first, to get that development, to get that exposure to the more hardcore crowd that would react better for him before he went up?
Yeah, if he was British, he might have a better path at this point, having a different show. But
sure. Maybe they can rebrand him as a British guy.
Oh my God,
metallic. I don't know. I got nothing.
They recapped Kendrick's attack on Tozawa last week, and they announced they will have a street fight next week. Dasha interviewed Kendrick. He says they don't have to keep the fight in the ring, and with a crafty mind like his, where rules are not enforced, it's bad news for Tozawa. Makes fun of his battle cry, and if Tozawa has not learned the lessons, then this street fight may be the end of his 205 Live dreams.
So we've actually gone a week without an actual lesson.
Yeah.
So it tells me that
the lesson is to learn the lesson.
He didn't number the lesson, at least.
No.
So it tells me, it gives
the streak ended.
It gives me reason to believe that this will be the blow-off to this feud.
Tony Nese and Mustafa Ali never got started because Ali was attacked from behind by Drew Gulak, running out from behind, ran him into the barricade, kicked him in the ribs, and then sent Ali into the post, and then sets him up in the corner of the ring for Nese to hit a running knee as he holds up his sign for the no-fly zone. Mm-hmm. Do you feel, Way, that this whole Randy Orton, this whole thing from this past week, do they see how this thing took on a life of its own, that in any way will trickle down and help Drew Gulak? Because as we've talked about in the past, like the Drew Gulak character can elicit a lot of extreme emotions, as we saw in Execution this past week.
Yeah. Well, I would say up until this week, the Gulak character really has just kind of seemed like a comedy thing that nobody really took all that seriously. But when you have Randy Orton say the same things on Twitter, it drives a lot more emotions. And I think Gulak should definitely run with it, and I'm sure he's thinking that. And he was thinking that by tweeting that photo with Randy Orton, which was brilliant. I definitely think that it breathes new life into this gimmick, and I hope that he's able to take advantage of it somehow. The hashtag, no dives or whatever. Just work it all into it and get this crowd into it.
There's definitely something to be learned from in this, that here's this character that was all comedy and
Drew Gulak.
Yeah, in Drew Gulak. And with Randy Orton, it's people just perceive that this is this guy's real thoughts. Yeah. And there's this line that could be blurred a bit better.
But that line is built from decades now of Randy Orton being brought up in this WWE system, being a lifelong WWE guy who doesn't do all that diving. But you have Drew Gulak who, wrestles for all these independent promotions where you can't really buy that these are his true feelings,
But this guy wasn't...
He's not a high flyer, but
no.
To suggest that he truly believes that he doesn't like high flying...
I could buy that from him. Yes, I could.
I can't buy it from Drew Gulak. He's had, everybody he works with dives, and I'm sure he loves having matches with people who dive. But Randy Orton, I get the sense that maybe he doesn't. It's at least more believable with Randy.
I'm just saying that it's a big divide between on-air WWE, no one cares, no one's invested, there's no real emotion, versus,
Randy is also a way bigger star.
It's just that there's a way to present things. Like I can guarantee you that when you watch that UFC press conference Friday, those guys are, they probably have some of this animosity towards one another, but they are quote unquote working. Right. They are just building and turning the dial up.
Yeah.
They were cutting promos that people were able to believe and realize they're amplifying this for business gain.
I agree with you. And if Drew Gulak came out 2 weeks ago when he first introduced this character and cut the same promo that Randy cut on Twitter, I'd be buying into the character a lot more. So I'd love to see Gulak employ more of a realistic style and give some real reasons why he doesn't like people diving.
Backstage, Dasha interviewed Rich Swann, who he said needs to get as far away from the two lunatics, Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, as possible. And then a package arrives for Swann, and he says, no, that's Rich Swann, and points to Arya Daivari, who is off looking into the mirror. The delivery man goes up to him. Daivari takes the box because he's expecting his $2,500 Persian sunglasses from Abu Dhabi. And he goes to open the box, but before he does, realizes, these aren't my glasses. So he leaves the box on the table. Jack Gallagher walks up. He goes to take the box, and Daivari returns. He wants the box back. Insults Gallagher, and Gallagher reminds us that these two feuded for a long time and didn't want to rehash the scoundrel business all over again. So Daivari's looking at the box. He opens the box, and white powder explodes in his face as he throws a fit because his shirt is ruined, his whole outfit is ruined. Take it or leave it if you enjoyed that. But, as they say, a joke is only as good as the person who sells it. Tom Phillips with the highlight of Tuesday night on any of the programs we are reviewing.
Maybe the best selling on this show.
He laughed so hard. He was broken by this at Daivari. Why did he open this? It was awesome. Corey Graves was trying to keep it together. This was something that felt like a genuine reaction that stood out, and this was awesome.
It was a genuine reaction. I could only imagine to something else that was on Tom's mind, because there's no way he was laughing that hard at what we were just watching. This was not that funny at all. But Tom's reaction, you would assume.
I think he was laughing at what an idiot to open this box. Like,
I think he was laughing at how stupid this whole thing is that we're watching as grown men.
but he made it. He made it. So, like, that was my takeaway. I thought this was awesome. TJP and Austin Aries was the main event. TJP avoided a last chancery early, which ended up kind of bookending the match. They fought on the floor. TJP went after the knee, kicked him on the ropes, and then did this half crab over the top rope with Aries draped over top. He's clutching the knee. Fire Bradshaw chant began. TJP dabbed to the crowd in anger. Aries then struggled as he fought back, hit the pendulum elbow. He hit a knee to the body using his good knee, and then an elbow off the turnbuckle to the back. Aries is then favoring his left shoulder at this point after hitting this elbow off the turnbuckle. TJP then shoved Aries off the apron, lands on his bad knee. I love this spot. He's just sitting there and he just shoved him.
Yeah. And
he just had to fall onto the bad knee. I thought it was great. Perkins then did this roll-up, grabbing his trunks. Aries kicked out, sent TJP to the floor, and hit a tope, which was probably ill-advised. And then he goes back into the ring. TJP applies a knee bar, grabs the rope for leverage. They fight to the bottom rope, and then Aries transitions into the last chancery to get the submission victory.
That transition at the end was awesome. From the detonation kick to the sunset flip to the last chancery in like 2 seconds. It was beautiful. Crowd reaction notwithstanding, I thought this was a great match with a very well-told story and an awesome finish. If Tom Phillips was the bestseller on WWE programming tonight, Austin Aries has to be a very close second because he told a great story with that injured knee.
Yeah, I wonder which crowd Aries hated more. Did you see his comments about Monday night?
No, what did he say?
He was like, "Great reception as always, New Jersey. Stay classy."
Unfortunate, because there's another guy who I feel like if he was not in the cruiserweight division would be receiving tremendous ovations. I'm sure he sees it as a real challenge.
Yep, it's a negative, being stigmatized as a cruiserweight at the moment. And Neville ran in and attacked Aries. They applied a heel hook until Jack Gallagher ran in for the save with the umbrella, attacking Neville. So we'll get some incarnation of that next week. And that was 205 Live.
I thought 2 solid matches.
Yeah, I thought 205 Live was the better show than SmackDown. Mm-hmm. So, there was some good stuff on the show. And that sends us into Backlash with, I guess, varying degrees of interest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to Nakamura. Even the Usos Breezango, I'm kind of curious about. And Owens AJ will definitely be good.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good show just with those matches alone.
And the main Orton and Mahal, take it or leave it, the match itself, but the outcome I'm definitely interested in.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us. We will be back later this week. Lots of shows coming your way. Thursday, we've got What's Next with Braden Harrington and bartender Dave. Jason Agnew is away. And on Thursday, Misha Serkinov, UFC light heavyweight, will be joining me. Really great interview with him as he gets set for his fight coming up in Sweden next week against Volkan Oezdemir.
Oh, wow.
Legit name.
Okay.
Like, that would be something I would expect to come out of NXT. Like, the third member of Heavy Machinery. Volkan Oezdemir. Okay. Friday, we've got Review-A, where me and Wai are going to review Kota Ibushi navigating a condemned apartment. This is going to be one for the ages.
It will be amazing.
I promise greatness. And Chris Charlton will be joining us on that show. We've got a Bauer and Pollock. Saturday, NXT TakeOver post-show immediately after. Sunday night, The Law, right after Backlash. Tune in, TSN Radio, liveaudiowrestling.com.
Also a Backlash preview with Jimmy Corderas.
Oh, my God.
We got too much
I'm
stuff
sick
here.
of me. So that is all coming your way. liveaudiowrestling.com, and we will speak with you later this week.
SmackDown, SmackDown, SmackDown.